This is A Little Less Conversation, written and read by Lili Valente. Chapter 1, Dawn. The antique car horn blares, signaling the end of the round and summoning a wave of nervous laughter from the pack of desperate, single creatures gathered at the Atlanta Dough Company, the scene of my most recent dating disaster. I should have known better than to try speed dating with donuts. I really should have. I mean, speed dating is still speed dating. It's an awkward, embarrassing, mid-90s way to spend a Saturday night, no matter how much fried dough and icing you add into the mix. But I was so lonely after the kids left for summer visitation with my ex that I allowed my heart and my sweet tooth to be lured in by descriptions of romance budding over triple chocolate donut holes and maple-glazed crullers. I clicked the sign-up link at the bottom of my Atlanta Singles Weekly email, and now here I am, shifting tables yet again, preparing to meet Weirdo number 5. Weirdo number 1 wiped his nose on his sleeve 10 times in the 5 minutes we were allotted to form a soul connection. Weirdo number 2 spent the entire time bragging about how much money he made. Weirdo number 3 smelled like sour milk and green onions and barely said a word except to ask if I was going to finish my bear claw. And weirdo number 4, upon realizing our donut hole had a cinnamon and chili pepper glaze, went on and on about how cinnamon gave him a yeast infection in his mouth. In his mouth. To say my expectations are low going into my next match would be an understatement. My expectations are down in the hull of a ship with a bad case of seasickness, huddled in a dark corner with their head under a blanket, praying for a quick end to their suffering. And then I look up and there he is, Weirdo number 5. My expectations let out a moan of anguish and hurl themselves out the porthole of the ship, hoping to be eaten by single creature-devouring sharks. For a moment, I dare to hope my eyes are playing tricks on me, that this is simply a guy who looks like Trent Baron, a man with the same sky-blue eyes and jaw hacked from a hunk of solid rock, but with more tattoos and piercings than my meathead nemesis from college. But the moment I slide into the seat across from him, the man's eyes widen with recognition. Dawn Fuller? He blinks, as if hoping it might make me disappear. What are you doing here? I'm tempted to offer a smart-ass response. Trent and I haven't had a civil exchange since he made the mistake of saying he thought feminist was another word for lesbian in our freshman year sociology class. But I can't seem to muster the energy. Instead, I sigh and confess, I honestly don't know. Speed dating isn't my thing. At all. Trent shakes his head. Yeah, mine either. He waits for our server to drop off our donut samples before adding beneath his breath, I think I'd rather be punched in the face. Repeatedly. I snort. Ditto. I reach for my donut slice, a peanut butter and banana number that I hope will dull the pain. At least the donuts are good. The donuts are incredible, he agrees, leaning to the side to read the little card on our plate. The Elvis, huh? How is it? It's a honka yummy donut, I say in my best Elvis voice, which, thanks to hours in the car, listening to the King on family road trips, isn't bad. Trent laughs. Nice. He plucks his sample from the plate and devours it with one bite and a happy moan. Wow, that's amazing. Amazeballs, I agree. So, yeah. Kick-ass donuts, he says, wiping the glaze from his fingertips with his napkin. But so far the company isn't really what I was expecting. Not in downtown Atlanta, anyway. Too many feminists? I quip with a grin. Women who talk too much, have too many opinions, and don't like to shave their legs. His lips hook up on one side, as he nods in silent acknowledgement of my callback to our college classroom battles. No, not at all. The opposite, actually. I was hoping to meet a woman who had more on her mind than reality TV, Or hot spots for brunch, or vetting me to see if I make enough money to be worth more time than a speed date. Is that right? I arch a pierced brow, noticing that Trent has 3 piercings of his own, lined up in a row on the outer edge of his right eyebrow. Back in school, he used to tease me about my piercings and tattoos, swearing I'd regret them by the time I was 30. Changed your mind about feminists, tattoos, and piercings, then? He shrugs. People do change, you know. No, they don't, I say, thinking of my ex, who still enjoys getting high and watching SpongeBob SquarePants as much as he did in high school. At least not the people I know. Well, sounds like you need to get out more. Meet some new people. Trent crosses his thick forearms on top of the table. I can't resist sneaking a peek at them. The man has some drool-worthy wrist-to-elbow real estate. In fact, if Trent were just a pair of disembodied forearms, he'd be a delightful companion. I could spend hours with those yummy, muscled little beasts. And in my defense, when we first met, I'd spent my entire life in a tiny southern town, he continues, as I will my gaze back to his face. My parents were good people, but they liked the status quo, you know? And my friends were all jocks or members of the Future Farmers of America. Also good people, but they didn't question the way we'd been brought up. Didn't question much, really. After 18 years of that, it took some time for me to learn how to be receptive to new things, new ideas. He hesitates a beat before adding in a softer voice. But I did learn. And I've always remembered you as one of the people who helped open up my mind. Now it's my turn to blink. Really? Me? Yeah, you. His wide grin softens his angled face, making him look less like a warrior escaped from a military epic, and more like one of those famous wrestlers who end up making Disney movies. Meaty, but adorable, too. Thanks for taking the time to argue with me. Oh, well, you're welcome. I hesitantly return his smile. Maybe this night won't be a complete failure after all. It's nice to know I wasn't wasting my breath all those years ago. It gives me hope that maybe some of the other times I've insisted on speaking up might have been worthwhile too. Maybe someday my mother will agree that tattoos can be feminine. My father will confess he should let my daughter go fishing with him and my son. And my ex will call to apologize for refusing to cook dinner a single time during the years we were married. If a guy like Trent can come around, almost anything seems possible. So, I guess you and Dave split? He asks, surprising me again. I can't believe you remember his name. I frown. I didn't even realize you knew his name. Of course I did. He picked you up after class every day. He did, didn't he? I chew on my bottom lip, finding it hard to reconcile memories of the attentive boyfriend who picked me up from class with the husband who preferred solo time in his home office to nights downstairs with me and the kids. I guess people do change, just usually not for the better. Ignoring the tightness in my chest, I force a smile. Yeah, we split. It'll be 5 years this August. I'm sorry. Divorce sucks, he says. My ex and I split 3 years ago. I sip the coffee I've been toting from table to table, wishing we hadn't gone down this road. Though it's nice that we're having an actual conversation. Better than watching him wipe his nose or steal my donut like the other bachelors. Do you do single events often? I ask, mostly to change the subject. He shakes his head. No, but I've hit a brick wall with dating lately. Can't seem to get past the first date. Figured I should do something to try to turn that around. Really? I nibble my bottom lip as I consider that. Huh. And no, I'm not doing anything weird on the first dates. I'm being nice. Charming, even, he says, reading my so clearly I can't help but laugh. Well, you must be doing something wrong. I brush crumbs from the table. I mean, there's obviously nothing to complain about in the looks department, so... His eyes meet mine across the table, and a spark of something leaps between us, leaving me a little flustered. Trent's always been a good-looking guy, over 6 feet with dreamy blue eyes, chiseled features, and enough muscle to ensure the cheerleaders fought for the chance to slobber all over him at parties. But back in college, he wasn't even remotely my type. He still isn't my type. A few tattoos and piercings and a newly acquired appreciation for open-mindedness doesn't change that. Does it? No, I swear. I've been on my best behavior. He clears his throat as he reaches for his own coffee. But one woman left with another guy while I was in the bathroom. One had an emergency and hopped in a taxi before I could get her number, and we fell out of touch. And another one vomited on my shoes. I fight to keep from smiling. Oh no, how awful. Stop, he says, grinning. Schadenfreude doesn't look good on you. My brows lift. Schadenfreude? Me? Never. He narrows his eyes. Okay, I admit with a chuckle. Maybe I'm a teensy tiny bit happy that your dating life is even more disastrous than mine. The last time I met a blind date at a bar, he spilled green St. Patty's beer all over my head. Trent winces. Yikes. Blind dates are the worst. So awful, I agree. If you're in the mood to be horrified, I could tell you some stories. I pretty much gave up on dating a couple years ago. The single creature scene was just too depressing. Single creature, he echoes. You make us sound like an endangered species. More like an invasive species, sticking our lonely noses back into a society that wishes we'd stayed married and out of the way. After a certain age, it just feels like there's no place for single people, doesn't it? Like you're actively resented for not being married anymore? I shrug. Or maybe that's just single women. You're only 32, he says gently. I think there's still room for you on the single scene. Maybe. I lift my gaze to the ceiling, where red fans twirl, their blades toiling to keep the room cool, despite the 90-degree heat outside, and will myself to stop spilling my guts. Trent's not my friend, let alone a trusted confidant. But instead of shutting up, my tongue keeps flapping. It's just been so long since a guy acted like I was something special, you know? I mean, I know I'm special, I say, trying to make a joke of it, but pretty sure I'm not pulling it off. But none of my dates seem to have gotten the memo. Then they must have been pretty stupid, he says. Because from what I remember, you... Honk, honk, honk. The horn blares, cutting Trent off before he can finish, leaving me with an odd, deflated feeling. For the first time all night, I'm not ready to shift tables. I want to stay and find out what he remembers about me. I want to hear more of his dating tales of woe, ask when he got his first piercing, and see what else we might have in common. No, you do not. You can't date meathead Trent from college. It would be too weird. And he probably isn't interested anyway. Stand up and move it along, sister. Well, I'd better go. I force myself to rise from my chair. Wait. He stands and reaches across the table, capturing my fingers in one of his giant hands, sending a zippy feeling shooting up my arm. I know we paid for 6 more matches, but would you want to get out of here? With me? My eyes widen. Now? He nods. We can ditch the rest of the speed dating, find a bar that doesn't suck, and just keep talking. I promise I won't spill green beer on your head, or any other color beer. I hesitate, so shocked I don't know what to think. Would this be a date? Or just old friends catching up? And does it really matter when this is the best time I've had talking to anyone all night? Don't say no, he adds after a beat. Or you'll confirm I'm a social leper and I'll have to take my dad purse and go home. I huff. Your dad purse? He motions to the bag, slung over his chair. It's a messenger bag I wear when I ride my bike. My daughter calls it my dad purse. She loves to tease me about it. About anything, really. He has a daughter who loves to tease her daddy. That's sweet. Cute kid, I say, smiling. And you're not bad either, so... Yeah. Sure. Let's go get a drink. Trent's grin explodes across his face, making me feel special for the first time in longer than I can remember. It's nice. Really nice. Awesome. He leads the way around the table, slipping between 2 giant planters filled with fake ferns that separate the quick service area from the restaurant. I follow, tailing him across the red and white checked tile toward the door. Behind me, I hear someone call out that the event isn't over. I start to turn to make our excuses, but Trent reaches to take my hand with a shake of his head. "Don't look back," he whispers. "Don't ever look back." Okay. I meet his eyes filled with intelligence and mischief and the same anticipation I feel, and decide that sounds like a great idea. Tonight, I won't look back. I'll look forward to a drink with a new old friend, and wherever an evening of making time for fun might lead us. Chapter 2. Trent. I have a secret. A deep, dark, slightly stalker-flavored secret I've never told a soul, not even my ex-wife. And I told Holly almost everything. Right up until the day she announced she was leaving me for a man who made more money than a washed-up college football player with a bum knee and a bicycle shop that was barely breaking even. I promised her my 5-year plan was solid, and psychology would be in the black within 6 months. But she hadn't been interested. In her heart, she was well on her way to happily ever after take 2 with Harry Jones, investment banker. 3 years have passed since Holly's departure, and Psychology is now one of the top bicycle enthusiast destinations in Atlanta. I've tripled my annual earnings and the amount of child support I pay Holly, and I'm grateful for the things I kept to myself. I'm glad I never told Holly about my college crush, the girl who made me reimagine what I wanted in a girlfriend. At first, I was pretty sure I hated Dawn. She was opinionated, merciless when proving a point, and not at all shy about telling me when she thought I was being a backward-thinking doofus. But by midterms, I realized it wasn't personal. Dawn was just a passionate person. Passionate about people being treated fairly, passionate about addressing racism and sexism in our country and our world, passionate about making sure everyone has access to healthcare and that every kid gets 3 meals a day, regardless of how much money their parents make. It wasn't long before I began to see the sense in a lot of her points, and to agree with a lot of them. But even when we disagreed, I still found her passion sexy as hell. I looked forward to debates with Dawn more than hanging out with most of my friends. There was an electricity that flowed between us when we sparred. It burned through my veins, like that burst of adrenaline I got after crushing the opposing team's running back during a goal line stand. And I swear there were times when I would have sworn Dawn felt it too, that her eyes flashed with something other than irritation when she looked my way. So yeah, I developed a pretty serious crush, but it never went further than that. Dawn came to college with a boyfriend and was married by the end of our sophomore year. We lost touch during our junior year. Different majors led us in different directions, and I spent more time on the football field and less time hitting the books. But I've always remembered her, and wondered what might have happened if she hadn't been taken. And now, here we are, holding hands as we breeze down the street, away from the donut place. It's surreal. Dawn's the last person I expected to see at speed dating, but I knew it was her the moment she stopped in front of my table. She looks exactly the same. Same dyed blue-black hair that falls in a slick, shiny curtain to the center of her back. Same piercing blue eyes that stand out against her pale skin. She has a few more tattoos than she did before, a mermaid on the underside of one arm, and an octopus coiling around her bicep on the other. But she even wears the same purple jewel in the ring on her eyebrow. Looking at her, it's like no time has passed at all. Certainly not 11 years. Except for the tired note in her voice, and the faded look in her eyes. It's the same look I saw in the mirror the year after my divorce. I know how it feels to work so hard to make a marriage work, only to learn your best isn't good enough. Your love isn't good enough. But in the past couple of years, I've found my feet again. I know I have a lot to offer the right person, and faith that I'll find her someday. Even my recent string of bad dating luck hasn't crushed my single creature spirit. But Dawn, well, it looks like she got knocked down and hasn't managed to get up again. It makes me want to track Dave down and punch him in the gut, hard. Whatever went wrong, it has to be Dave's doing. Dawn was so devoted to him. even when we were kids. She always had a little note or an extra croissant from the bakery, or an extra long kiss for him when he picked her up after class. I was totally jealous of all those things, especially the last one. This look good? Dawn pauses in front of a bar with an old-fashioned wooden sign hanging above the door that reads, "The Pied Piper Pub." Perfect. I hold the door open for her, following her into the soft darkness. Out on the street, the summer sun is taking its sweet time setting, but inside the pub, the shades are closed. The antique lamps hanging from the ceiling cast an orange glow on the tables on the right side of the room, and the long wooden bar on the other. The space has a cozy, close feeling, and the Irish fiddle music piping over the sound system isn't too loud. It's a good place to catch up. And maybe... Don't get ahead of yourself, Psycho. One step at a time. I pull in a breath and let it out slowly. One step at a time is good advice. Dawn's obviously still getting used to the idea that I'm not a 19-year-old meathead who's never been out of Trousdale County before. And I don't know if she's the same person I remember either. "Tell me more about your daughter," she says, after we've ordered 2 beers and a basket of cheese fries to help balance the donut sugar high. "She's 6, I say, and diabolically smart." Dawn grins. "Did she just finish kindergarten?" "First grade," I say, moving the used coasters in front of us to one side, clearing a space for our drinks. She was already reading when it was time to start kindergarten, so the school went ahead and moved her up to first grade. She'll be in second next year. Her brows lift. "Diabolically smart for sure. Did your ex teach her to read?" "I did, actually. I'm pretty okay at reading, and I was the primary caregiver, so..." Dawn's cheeks get a little pinker. "Sorry, I didn't mean... It's just usually the moms who stay home with the kids when they're small. But that was a dumb thing to assume. It's so nice that you were able to spend so much time with her when she was little. I love the little years." "Yeah, me too," I agree. Though I confess we really didn't stay home much. My ex worked at a bank when Beatrice was born, and we didn't have a lot of money for childcare. So Bea would come hang out at the bike shop with me. She had tons of toys in the back room, but she'd still get bored and would want me to read to her. But sometimes I was with a client and couldn't get away, so I started teaching her to read on her own. By the time she was 4, she didn't need me anymore. She's sharp. Sounds like it. Dawn's lips curve. And sounds like she's got a devoted daddy. I shrug. She's the best thing that ever happened to me. Pain flashes in Dawn's eyes. "I can tell you mean that. My ex never really..." She squinches her eyes closed, but a second later they open and her shoulders relax away from her ears. "You know what? I don't want to talk about my ex." "Me either," I say. "But I will say I always thought you were too good for Dave." She laughs. "Really?" "Really. Way too smart and pretty and full of energy to be with a guy who was high all the time. Seemed like he slowed you down." She shoots me a look I can't read, but the bartender takes that moment to deliver our beers and basket of fries. By the time he's made sure we don't need anything else and delivered the napkins and forks Dawn asks for, the look is gone, and I don't feel comfortable bringing it up. Instead, I try to guide the conversation back to more neutral ground. "So, what do?" I ask. "For work. Did you end up being a social worker like you planned?" She shakes her head. "No, I got pregnant junior year and decided to transition to an art degree. I'd always loved art, and I could do most of the courses online and then turn the projects in at the end of the semester. It let me be home with Marshall while I finished undergrad and got my master's. Now I teach art at R1 College." "Wow. I had no idea you started your family so young. So Marshall is..." "Almost 10, she says with a laugh. I can't believe it sometimes myself. And Emmy is 7. I bet she and Beatrice would get along great. Emmy just finished first grade too, and loves to read and play pretend and write comic books about princess dragons. Not princesses and dragons, but princess dragons," I say, nodding my approval. That would be right up Bea's alley. She won't touch a princess dress with a 10-foot pole, but she loves dragons. We chat about the kids a bit more before the conversation turns to my bike shop and the various races I help organize around Atlanta. We order another round and play a game of pool, and I find myself laughing more than I have in months. The faces Dawn makes as she takes aim are priceless. "Stop it!" She gives up on lining up her next shot and stands, propping her hands on her hips. You're deliberately trying to sabotage me. I am not, I say, still laughing. It's just that face. With your nose wrinkled and your lip curled, you look like an angry badger. She rolls her eyes and blows her bangs off her forehead with a huff. Angry badger. Great. That was exactly the look I was going for. Then you nailed it. Now hurry up and take that shot so I can finish beating you. Her eyes narrow. You always were a cocky bastard. Was not. I lean against the pool table, close enough to Dawn that I can smell the incense and cinnamon smell clinging to her lacy black sundress. I was shy in college. She snorts as she bends back over the table. And I was the Queen of France. Learning new things about you every minute, I tease. This is the best date ever. She goes still, and a frown tugs at the skin between her eyes. After a moment, she straightens again. So this is a date? It feels like a date, don't you think? I hope she'll say yes. And more importantly, agree to do it again sometime soon. She lifts one shoulder and lets it fall. I don't know. Like I said, it's been over a year. Probably closer to 2 if I'm being honest. I haven't been on a date in so long I might have forgotten what they're like, but I'm not as nervous as I usually am. I take a step closer and wrap my fingers around the pool cue above hers. Well, that's a good thing, right? It's no fun being nervous. No, it isn't, she says. But she doesn't sound convinced, and her gaze remains fixed on the pool table's green surface. This is kind of weird, right? We used to hate each other. I have a confession to make. I wait until she looks up before I continue. I had a huge crush on you in college. Her jaw drops. You're kidding me. Nope. I only kept arguing with you sophomore year because it was the only way to get your attention, I say. If you hadn't already had a boyfriend, I would have asked you out. That's how I knew Dave's name. I did some checking around the end of freshman year. I was hoping you two weren't serious, but I trail off, watching Dawn's expression for a sign of how she feels about all that. Does she think I'm completely crazy? Moderately crazy? Maybe not that crazy at all? For a long moment, she doesn't say a word, but then her forehead smooths and her lips curl up on one side. You know, if I'm being honest, I didn't completely hate you either. I mock wince, and she chuckles, a husky sound I'd really like to hear more of. I just meant there was something about you, she adds. Something interesting. Aside from the muscles and the sexy jawline and nice forearms and all that. So, you think I'm sexy? I arch a brow, trying to play it cool as I shift the pool cue to one side, clearing the space between us. I said your jawline was sexy, she says, peering up at me through her lashes. Don't get cocky. Wouldn't dream of it. She huffs out a laugh. Right. I grin and lean closer, until her breath warms my face and her cinnamon and smoke smell fills my head. I find all of you sexy. Is that okay? Really? She asks softly. All of me? Every inch. I close the distance between us, brushing my lips across hers, softly at first, testing, teasing, still not quite able to believe this is happening. But then she grabs a handful of my t-shirt, her fingernails digging lightly into my skin through the cotton, and reality asserts itself more assertively. I am really kissing Dawn from college, and it's even hotter than I imagined it would be. Her tongue sweeps between my lips, tasting of hops and French fries, and a sweet smokiness that's all her. She tastes like early morning race day air, fresh, charged, and electric with possibilities. And kissing her is flat out addictive. Once we start, I don't want to stop. Soon my arm is around her waist, pulling her closer as my hand slides down to cup her ass. She arches closer, pressing against me as we kiss deeper, harder, swiftly entering inappropriate PDA territory. Maybe we should stop, I mumble against her lips. Oh, we should have stopped a while ago, she says, kissing me between words. But your mouth is like really nice. Really, really nice. I'm a big fan. I grin. Same. Does that mean we get to do this again? She pulls back, her wide eyes gazing up into mine. Dear God, I hope so. I fight the urge to engage in victorious fist-pumping or take a lap around the bar. Wednesday night? I have B first thing tomorrow through Wednesday morning, but I'm free after that. She hesitates a moment, but finally nods. Okay. Wednesday sounds good. We could try the Ethiopian restaurant down the street from my place if you're game. I've been forcing myself to try new things, break out of my sports bar routine. I've never had Ethiopian, but I'm game. Sounds good. It sounds better than good. It sounds fucking amazing. I can't wait to go on a real date with her. And kiss her goodnight for at least half an hour. Thank God for the past 6 months, and all my bad dating mojo. If I hadn't struck out with those other women, I wouldn't have been free to make a play for the girl who got away. And I'm definitely making a play. I'm going to win her over so hard, she won't know what hit her. But she's going to like it. I'll make damned sure of that. Chapter 3. Dawn. I'm out of my mind. Completely, legitimately mad. I have romantic, delusional, crazy pants kissing disorder. Or something. Tell me that Trent and I should slow the hell down. I tuck the phone between my ear and shoulder as I push the curtains aside, gazing out my apartment window at the street where Trent will be arriving any minute. Because we can't stay away from each other for more than a few hours at a time. It's becoming a problem. A serious, crazy pants kissing problem. No, I will not, Maddie says with a giggle. Maddie, I warn, I'm counting on you to be the voice of reason. But I should know better. Now that Maddie's own whirlwind romance has become an engagement, my previously level-headed friend is all about rushing in. No, you want me to poop on the party, and I refuse, she says. This is amazing news. I'm so happy for you, honey. What a perfect way to spend your break between semesters. And I bet he's keeping you from missing the kids, too, isn't he? I've still missed the kids, I say, adding in a mumble. But Trent is good at keeping my mind off my troubles. Boy, is he good at keeping my mind off my troubles. We haven't taken the kissing train to Sexy Time Station yet, but he's already proven he knows exactly what to do with his hands. And his mouth. And his body moving against mine. Oh, Maddie coos suggestively. Tell me more. I can't, I demur. Yes, you can, and you must. You know you want to. She's right. I've been dying for a dish session. Okay, so maybe I'm a freak, but last night he made me, just from kissing, and light over the jeans touching. I fight a goofy grin, even though there's no one around to see it. Like, what's up with that? Is that normal? No, that's totally weird, Maddie says. In the best way. He clearly knows what he's doing. He does. I bite my bottom lip. I mean, I will never regret Dave because our marriage gave me my babies, but I'm starting to think I missed out on some things marrying my high school boyfriend. Not that Dave was bad in bed, I hurried to add. The teen girl in me who was so grateful for Dave's sweet gentleness our first time together, feeling disloyal. But even after we'd been married for years, he never handled my body the way Trent does. Like he knows what to do with it. Like it belongs to him, I say, heat rushing to my cheeks as Maddie squeals on the other end of the line. No, don't squeal. Don't encourage me. I'm crazy. I should not be encouraged. Yes, you should. It's past time you gave love a second chance. Stop it, I say, meaning it this time. We're not talking about love. We're talking about possibilities. That's all. It's only been 3 weeks. And remember, it's not just Trent and me. Surely once Maddie's reminded that there are kids involved, she'll be an advocate for caution. 3 kids could eventually be a part of this, and it's still early days. So I shouldn't let him introduce me to his daughter yet, right? It's way too soon. He wants to introduce you to his daughter? Maddie squeals again, even louder this time, making me pull my cell away from my ear. That's so sweet. No, it's not too soon. You should totally do it. She'll love you. If you squeal again, I'm hanging up on you, I warn. I think you damaged my eardrum. Okay, she says in a more controlled voice. Arya gave me the stink eye too. You remember Arya, right? She's my friend who just had her second baby. I'm in her place, trying to convince her that breastfeeding is all the excuse you need to eat unlimited cupcakes. Here, she wants to talk to you. I laugh. Okay. Hi, sorry to butt in, but that's what we do around here. The other woman's voice is deeper than Maddie's, with a note of dry humor that reminds me of my friend Piper. No worries, I assure her. Any friend of Maddie's is a friend of mine. Same, she says. And that's why I had to stick my nose in. Do you feel ready to move forward? Do you want to meet this guy's daughter? I sigh, considering the question. Yeah, I do. She sounds like a cool kid. Then you should go for it. Just because something happens fast doesn't mean it's not right or solid. My husband and I moved so fast, we make you and your man look like you're standing still. But it's been over a year now, and we're so happy. I'm glad we jumped right in. I wouldn't have wanted to miss a single one of those days I've spent with Nash. They are all, she sniffs softly, so precious. Are you okay? I ask gently, noting the wobble in her voice. I'm fine, she sniffs again. It's just the postpartum hormone cocktail. Everything makes me cry. I saw an ad for Cheerios this morning and bawled my freaking eyes out. I hear you, I say, feeling for her. I remember those early days with a new baby. Make sure you take naps and eat lots of protein. And thanks so much for the advice. So, you're going to go for it? She asks. I pull in a bracing breath. I think I am. Yes. Arya cheers, making me grin. Okay, I'm handing you back to Maddie. The baby needs to be burped. Thank you, I say, peeking out the window at the street again as Maddie comes back on the line. I'm so happy for you, Maddie gushes. So what are you and Mr. Perfect up to this weekend? I lean against the wall near the window. We are going bike riding today, and he made reservations for overnights at the Aquarium for tomorrow night. We're going to take our sleeping bags and camp out by the shark tank. A shark tank? That's so romantic. I laugh. It is not. It's awesome. And a little creepy. And romantic, Maddie insists. And romantic. I grudgingly agree, fighting another goofy grin. But when Trent's black Ford pickup pulls up in front of my apartment building, the smile becomes insuppressible. He's here, I say, reaching for my keys. Gotta go. Call me in a few days, Maddie says, giggling at something Arya says in the background. Call us both. Arya wants to hear about camping with sharks, too. I promise to spill all and hang up, zipping my cell into the pocket of my biking pants before bounding down the stairs. Before Trent, I can't remember the last time I bounded anywhere. But in the past 19 days, bounding has become a daily thing. Hey, sexy. Trent's in the truck bed, unlocking bikes from the rack. But he stops to gaze my way as I skip across the grass. I like you in bike pants. Thanks. I prop a hand on my spandex-clad hip, not worried that I have the muscle tone of a woman who spends most of her time in front of an easel or camped out on the couch grading papers. Trent obviously thinks I look just fine. I've never felt more beautiful than when he pulls away from a kiss with that certain look in his eyes. The one that makes it seem like he can't quite believe I'm real, and in his arms. The one that makes it clear he feels as lucky to be with me as I feel to be with him. I'm not sure what I did to deserve that look, but maybe that's the point. When it's right, you don't have to deserve it. You just have to enjoy it, relish it, be grateful for every second you get to spend with your person, the one made to fit you. Just right. Chapter 4. Dawn. So, how far are we going to go? I help Trent unload a sweet-looking black bike with a skull seat cover, hoping it's mine. 5 or 6 miles? He hands me a helmet before setting a bigger bike down against the truck and vaulting out of the truck bed with an easy grace that makes my pulse flop around in my veins. I've never been one to geek out about big muscles or a ripped body, but when that ripped body belongs to a man who loves his daughter fiercely, gives great conversation, and reads at least a book a week, I am apparently as helpless against the stud factor as any other woman. Is that too far? He asks, jolting me from my thoughts. What? I shake my head. Sorry, I was zoning out. He smiles. 5 or 6 miles. Is that too far? No, I think that's fine. I strap on my helmet. But I might need to grab some snacks to take with. I get snacky when I exercise. No worries, I've got snacks covered, he says, motioning to the saddlebags strapped behind his seat. Snacks and water, but no protein bars because they taste like dog biscuits. I finish with him, nodding my approval. You've been paying attention. Where you're concerned? Always. He hooks an arm around my waist, pulling me in for a kiss. The second his lips touch mine, the pulse flopping becomes a full-body thing. My heart is suddenly beating everywhere, all at once, and my nerves are singing that "Yes, please, more please" song they sing whenever Trent touches me. I press close, relishing the delicious, strong, solid feel of him, knowing I'm not going to be able to wait much longer to get even closer. I love that we're taking things slow, drawing out the anticipation, but every time we start, it's harder to stop. Trent finally pulls away with a soft moan. Oh, I'll have to cool it. I'm wearing spandex, going to embarrass myself. Nothing to be embarrassed about, I say with a naughty wink. Not from what I felt through your jeans last night. Stop, he warns, heat in his eyes that makes me feel flushed all over. Or I'm going to lock these bikes back up and chase you upstairs to your bedroom. But then we wouldn't get our exercise. Oh, we'd get our exercise. He squeezes my ass through my tight pants, making the ache between my legs even more intense. I promise. For a moment, I'm so damned tempted. But I force myself to pull away. Not until I meet Beatrice. If she's upset that we're dating and we end up calling it quits, I don't want to have any regrets. She's not going to be upset, he says for the 10th time since he suggested I meet B last week. He releases me and turns to his bike. She's not that kind of kid. She's never met a person she didn't like. I grab my handles and swing my leg over the frame. I'm the first woman you've ever introduced her to, I say, as we push off down the street toward the park and the miles of trails that were the reason I chose this apartment. You have no idea how she's going to react. He ponders that for a moment. He does that a lot. Takes a moment to think before he speaks. A quality I adore almost as much as his bone-melting kisses. It's so nice to be with someone who really listens. Okay, you're right, he admits after a minute. But even if B is upset, it's not going to change the way I feel. He grunts. Besides, her mom got remarried 6 months after we divorced, and Beatrice didn't have any trouble adjusting to Harry. They were buddies by the end of the first week. I hum beneath my breath. That must have been hard. I switch gears as we start uphill, enjoying the easy way the bike handles. Unlike my own bike, which is on its last wheels and squeaks relentlessly whenever the kids and I go for a ride. This is a slick machine. It was hard for me, he says, but I was glad for B. Harry is a decent guy. He and B aren't as close as she and I are, but they have fun together, and I'm glad she's not in a bad situation. Harry and I do our best to get along and put her needs first. I sigh. Wow, that sounds amazing. Dave's wife, Sadie, and I have just agreed never to talk again. Ever. Why? He glances my way as we turn right on the path that loops around the outer edge of the park. Because he was having an affair with her before you two split up? No. I mean, that was hurtful. But it was the parenting advice that finally broke me. One weekend, she decided the kids weren't flossing correctly and sent me a 2,000-word email about it. Wow, he says with a laugh. Yeah. I roll my eyes, steering behind him for a moment as we pass another couple headed in the opposite direction on the path. I pull back beside him after and add, "The next weekend, Marshall said shit when he burned his finger trying to flip pancakes, and Sadie completely lost it. I thought she was going to call Child Protective Services. And I know his word choice wasn't great, but he wasn't cursing at anyone or using the word to hurt someone's feelings, or cussing at school. So I was inclined to think it wasn't that big a deal." Trent makes an approving sound. "I agree. I don't want B to have a potty mouth, but there's a difference between being crass and being an asshole." "Exactly. But Sadie couldn't see that. She made Marshall go to his room and miss breakfast as punishment, even though he felt terrible and had already apologized and his poor finger was throbbing. No mercy, huh? That sucks. Guess she doesn't remember how hard it is to be a kid." "I guess not," I say. "And she doesn't have kids of her own. I don't think she realizes that parenting isn't as easy as they make it look in cereal commercials." I pump harder, breath coming fast as we crest the rise and head down the hill on the other side. Anyway, after a few weekends like that, I told Dave I didn't want to interact with her anymore. In the name of keeping the peace, he helped make it happen. "I cussed like a sailor when I was a kid," Trent says, with a shit-eating grin. "My dad loved it. He has videos of me cussing up a storm when I was only 3 or 4 years old. He pulls them out at family parties to relive the magic." I laugh. I'd love to see that. I bet it's offensively adorable. "You should come home with me in July for the family reunion," he says. "Dad would be thrilled to have a fresh pair of eyes to assault." I bite my lip, torn. A part of me insists it's way too soon to be making plans a month out. But the other part keeps thinking about what Arya said on the phone, about being glad she hadn't wasted a single day with the man she loved. "Do you think your ex would let us take B out to breakfast tomorrow morning?" I ask, before I lose my nerve. I know it's her day, but I thought maybe if she didn't have anything planned. Trent beams at me, slowing so we're side by side again. "I bet she would. I'll call her when we stop for snacks and ask." "Good." I exhale. I think I'm ready to meet B after all. "And I think you look great on that bike," he says, skimming me and my sexy machine up and down. "You like it? Is the seat cushioned enough?" I nod, touched that he remembered that the hard plastic seat on my bike makes my tailbone ache. It's awesome. And the lack of squeaking is nice, too. "I can probably fix that on your bike, if you want to keep it around for when you have friends over or something." I frown, pedaling harder as we start up another hill. Before I can catch my breath to ask what he means, he adds, "Because that bike is yours. My treat." My eyes go wide. No way. I can't accept this. It's a really nice bike. "I own a bike shop," he says with a grin. "If my girlfriend doesn't have a really nice bike, people will talk." My tummy flips. "Your girlfriend, huh?" "You want to be my girlfriend," he says, the hint of uncertainty in his voice as charming as his gift. "You know you do. You should just stop fighting it." "Okay," I whisper, surprising myself. "Maybe I will." Chapter 5. Trent. "Does she like ninjas?" Beatrice pipes up from her booster in the back seat, with the latest in a long line of questions about Dawn. So far we've covered dragons, dinosaurs, robots, coloring, and jumping off diving boards. I confess, I'm impressed I've been able to answer as many of her questions as I have. It proves Dawn and I have been doing as much getting to know each other as we have making out. Or nearly as much. But when it comes to ninjas, I don't know, B, I confess, spotting our exit coming up in 2 miles. I flick on my signal and move into the right lane. You'll have to ask her when we get there. Okay. She's quiet for a moment, then adds in a suddenly worried voice, "She isn't going to hug me, is she?" "Not if you don't want a hug," I assure her. "I don't. Will you tell her I don't, Daddy? No hugs." "I will if I need to. But I think she'll know, sweetheart. Miss Dawn's pretty savvy about things like that," I say, nerves making my stomach ache with something other than hunger for the first time all morning. I really want Bea and Dawn to get along. But B stressing about hugs isn't a good sign. She hasn't had a hug-related anxiety attack since the beginning of last school year. Once she established a hugs only on Fridays policy with her teacher, she was golden. "Are you sure?" she asks in a skeptical voice. "I promise. She'll be able to read your body language." "Body language," B repeats with a giggle. "Bodies don't talk, Daddy. You're a weirdo." I smile. "Thanks, honey." "You're welcome," she says, as I pull into the parking lot of the Cracked Yoke. When she spots the bright yellow and blue sign, she lets out a happy squeal. "Oh, good. I love this place. Daddy Harry and Mama and me go here all the time." "Oh, yeah?" I pull into the first available spot, relieved to see Dawn already waiting for us in the patch of shade near the door. "Miss Dawn picked this place. She said they have the best pancakes in Atlanta." "They do," B says seriously. "She's very right." I help her out of her booster and take her hand as we start across the parking lot. In a bright green sundress with black lace along the bottom that shows off her tattoos and a black straw hat, Dawn looks gorgeous. But I can tell she's nervous by the way she smiles. Her bottom teeth are showing, and that only happens when she's anxious. Still, she looks excited too. I silently pray that the excitement will prove contagious and B will be able to relax and enjoy breakfast. "Hi, Beatrice. I'm so happy to meet you," Dawn says, leaning down and extending a hand to B. "Your daddy talks about you all the time." B smiles and tentatively takes Dawn's hand before sneaking a peek up at me, as if to check that she's doing the meeting new people thing the right way. I smile, but don't try to put any words in her mouth. B knows her own mind, and I make a point not to interfere with that. I had enough of that from my dad when I was a kid. "Thank you," B finally whispers, before pressing closer to my leg and hiding her face in my t-shirt. I can't remember the last time she was shy with a stranger, or anyone else, but I've never introduced her to a girlfriend either. Perceptive kid that she is, B can probably tell on some level that this is a bigger deal than meeting a friend or coworker. Dawn catches my gaze, a hint of concern in her eyes. But when she suggests we head inside to see if our table is ready, she's smiling. A few minutes later, we're seated at a sunny booth in the back, Beatrice and me on one side and Dawn on the other. Dawn and I both study the menu, but Beatrice has already declared she's having pancakes and started to work on coloring in the kids' menu with a pack of crayons the waitress left. "I think I'm going to have pancakes too," Dawn finally says. "I always say I'm going to try something new, but the pancakes are so good, it's hard to resist." I glance at B to see if discovering a pancake kindred spirit might warm her up, but she remains focused on her coloring page, filling in the ruffle on the clown's collar with laser-like attention to detail. I order for the table, the drinks are delivered, and the clown continues to be filled in, but Beatrice remains uncharacteristically withdrawn. "So, your dad says you love to color," Dawn says, after several long, silent minutes. She reaches into her purse. "What's your favorite color?" B pinks in the polka dots on a seal. "Answer her, please, B," I finally urge, and immediately wish I hadn't. I sound like my dad. He couldn't stand a hot second of silence, and was always jumping all over me and my brothers for waiting too long to speak. All it did was make us all more nervous around strangers than we would have been if he'd given us some time and space. B stills her crayon and glances shyly at Dawn. "Purple," she says, her gaze dropping back to the table almost immediately. "Me too. I love purple. And I'm an art teacher, so I have lots of fun coloring stuff lying around the house," Dawn continues, pulling a flat black case from her hobo bag. "This is one of my favorite things to bring with me to restaurants. My kids love drawing while we wait for our food." She opens the case to reveal rows upon rows of crayons, a smaller selection of colored pencils, and a tearaway pad of white paper. Beatrice reaches for the case with both hands. Circus scene and lame 3-pack of crayons forgotten. "My friend Haley has one of these." She sets it on the table in front of her, running her fingers across the bottom row of crayons before selecting a deep purple. "She brought it to show and tell at my school." "My little girl Emmy just finished first grade too," Dawn says. Show and tell was her favorite part of the week, but it took her forever to figure out what to bring. It had to be just right. B nods as she begins to draw a cat with curled horns emerging from its head. That's true. You want something good, but not too good, in case somebody accidentally breaks it during share time. Exactly. Dawn smiles. I heard that you like Doctor Who. Beatrice nods more enthusiastically, but she doesn't lift her eyes from her paper. Still, the drawing seems to be helping her to loosen up. It's my favorite show, but my mom only lets me watch some of the episodes. She says some aren't appropriate until I'm bigger. My mom did the same thing, Dawn says. I wasn't allowed to watch anything but cartoons until I was 13. Is that why you have so many tattoos? I tease, finally starting to relax myself, rebelling against your conservative upbringing. No. She sticks her tongue out at me across the table. I have tattoos because they're cool, and I like octopuses, mermaids, and pirates. I like all of those things too, Bea says, looking up, her eyes wide. Especially octopuses. I have a purple stuffed octopus and an octopus sweater that my Grammy knitted all by herself. Oh, man. Dawn leans in on her forearms. I am so jealous. I have always wanted an octopus sweater, one where the tentacles wrap all around you and make it look like the octopus is about to drag you down to the bottom of the sea. Yes! Bea stabs her crayon excitedly into the air. That's the one I have. Grammy got the pattern off the internet. She said it was the most expensive pattern she ever bought, but she didn't care because her favorite granddaughter loved octopuses. Dawn holds out her fist. Awesome. Bea gives her a quick fist bump and continues excitedly. But I'm her only granddaughter, so it's a joke too. She's super silly. Dawn smiles. Oh, good. I like silly grannies. I want to be one when I grow up. Bea giggles. But you're already grown up, you silly. You're weird, just like Daddy. And just like that, I know Dawn has been accepted into Bea's tribe. Weird, after all, is one of my daughter's highest compliments. Chapter 6. Trent. Our breakfast plates are delivered, and we get to work on the massive piles of food. But the conversation continues without a hitch. Dawn and Bea discuss Bea's school, who her best friends are, and what she likes to read. They're in the midst of agreeing that dragons are more fun than dinosaurs, but dinosaurs are scarier because they're real when the check's delivered. I snatch it before Dawn can reach across the table. My treat. Thank you for letting me enjoy the company of two lovely ladies. Bea rolls her eyes and whispers, Daddy, don't embarrass us. I'm not embarrassed. Dawn smiles at me across the table. I think your daddy's pretty sweet. But his feet smell really bad sometimes, like something died in his shoes, Bea says in a serious voice, just as the waitress stops by to take my credit card, making Dawn snort with suppressed laughter. Thanks, Bea. I nudge her shoulder with my arm as the server hurries away. Now I'm embarrassed. Well, it's true, she grins, clearly pleased with herself. I return her grin, my smile growing even wider when Bea lets Dawn give her a goodbye hug by my truck. I promise to see Dawn that afternoon to prep for our aquarium adventure and slide into the driver's seat, pleased to hear Bea humming happily to herself. So, what do you think? I ask as we pull out. Didn't I tell you Miss Dawn was nice? Oh no! Bea wails, sounding so upset I stomp the brake a little too hard at the stoplight. What's wrong? I turn to see a stricken look on Bea's face. I forgot to ask her about ninjas, Bea says, as if this is a disaster equivalent to forgetting her favorite stuffed animal at McDonald's. I wanted to know if she hates them, because I hate them now, almost as much as dolls. It's okay, I say, laughing with relief as I turn back around. You can ask her the next time we hang out. We're going to hang out again? She sounds more curious than anything else. Sure. I thought Miss Dawn could come over for movie night supper sometime soon, I say casually, trying not to betray how much I hope Bea will be okay with that idea. We could order pizza and watch that dragon movie you like. Oh yeah, she says. That'll be fun. She'll like that. But I want to bring more of my movies to your house too, Daddy, so we have more choices. Mom said I could. I spend the rest of the drive listening to the list of movies Bea wants to bring over, along with her keyboard in case she starts feeling musical, and her paintball gun because her mom said she couldn't keep it in her room anymore since she accidentally shot her mirror and made blue splatter everywhere. And before I know it, I'm pulling up in my ex's cul-de-sac. I had a great time, kiddo, I say, hugging Bea tight on the front porch. I'll see you after church tomorrow. You're not going to take me? Bea asks. No, I've got plans, but I'll be there to meet you outside the door to Sunday school. She nods, clearly deciding that's acceptable. Okay, Daddy, bye. She opens the door and slips inside, yelling that she's home. I wait until Holly calls out, asking Bea how breakfast was, and Bea shouts back, Great! Before I close the door and start back down the walk. I think it went great, too. But I'm eager to hear Dawn's thoughts. So eager, I don't think I can wait until I pick her up tonight. I find her number in my frequently called list, a fact that gives me a ridiculous amount of pleasure, and tap to connect. She's adorable, Dawn says by way of greeting, easing the tightness in my chest immediately. I had so much fun, she continues. I think she did too, right? She seemed comfortable by the end. Yeah, I thought it went well. After the first few minutes. I don't know why she was so shy at first. Oh, she was fine. And it's completely understandable. Meeting new people can make grown-ups shy, let alone kids, she says. But she's so smart and well-spoken. I think you might have a genius on your hands. She's a mess, that's for sure. I chuckle. She was pretty proud of herself for taking me down a notch there at the end. Dawn laughs. I loved it. I suspected there had to be something wrong with you, and now I know. Toxic, foot stink. Just make sure I shower after a long ride before you get too close, and we'll never have to cross that bridge. Done, she says, still laughing. Thank you so much for bringing her. I feel so much better about things. And I was thinking you should meet Marshall and Emmy, too, when they get home from their visitation. I'd love that, I say, touched and excited. And nervous, but in the best way. I love that she's ready to take things to the next level. I knew I wanted something serious with her by the end of our first date, but she's more careful and cautious than I am. They'll probably need some time to get used to being back at my place first, she says, but we'll work something out soon. We have to. I'm not sure I can stand being away from you for more than 5 or 6 days in a row. 3 is too many. I agree. Bea wants to invite you over for supper one of the nights she's at my place, by the way. She's excited to see you again, so she can ask your opinion on ninjas. Ninjas, huh? Scary, she says, making me grin. I mean if we're talking real-life ninjas, not the cartoon kind. Real-life ninjas are terrifying. Bea will be glad you think so, I say, before adding in a softer voice. See you soon. I can't wait, she says. I'm going to pack my sketch pad and sketch a little while we're hanging out, if that's okay. Sounds amazing. As long as I get to sleep next to you when you're done. She makes a sound that makes me think she's smiling. Hurry up and get over here, you sweet thing. I need to kiss you. As soon as I can get my bag together, baby. I hang up, grinning like a fool, but that isn't a strange thing lately. Since speed dating with donuts, I've been having the best summer. The very best. Maybe ever. Chapter 7. Dawn. I expect our aquarium adventure to be fun. I don't expect it to be so private. But when we step through the giant glass doors around sunset, our sleeping bags and overnight bags in hand, we find the massive lobby nearly deserted. I keep glancing around, waiting for more people to show up. But by the time our guide starts our tour, it's clear we're going to have the place nearly to ourselves. Apparently, only 15 couples are allowed to participate in overnight at the aquarium events at a time. Trent and I might be able to steal a little time to be truly alone, after all. The thought brings a secret smile to my lips as we follow our guide behind the scenes at the dolphin tank and manatee enclosure. Afterwards, we're allowed to wander the main exhibits without the noise or crowds of a usual visit. It's so peaceful and eerie in the best way. I feel like I'm roaming the bottom of a deep, dark ocean, seeing the world from an entirely different point of view. For the first time ever, I get to pet the stingrays without getting splashed by a dozen poorly supervised children, linger at the octopus tank, making sketches without anyone walking in front of me, and take my time at the less flashy exhibits Marshall and Emmy always want to rush through. After touring time, we're given an hour to stake out sleeping spots and get settled before the wine and s'mores reception at the balcony restaurant. Trent and I sat up in front of the jellyfish and lay back to watch them puff and float in the shifting pink and blue light behind the tank. I swear I can feel my blood pressure dropping with every passing minute. This is so nice, I sigh. I can't remember the last time I felt this chill. You're not bummed that we didn't get the spot by the shark tank? He asks, sounding as relaxed as I feel. Not at all, I say. The opposite of bummed. I love these little guys. They're so delicate and beautiful. They are. He laughs beneath his breath. And less likely to give me nightmares. I turn to him, admiring the way the dim light accentuates the angles of his face. I'd like to paint him too, I suddenly decide. You're joking. You aren't really afraid of sharks. A little afraid, he says, leaning closer. I think I've seen Finding Nemo too many times. I snort. That's a pretty terrifying film. Or maybe it was that other movie. The one about the marine biologists trapped in the shark tank and running out of oxygen that got to me. I don't know, I tease. I'm betting on Nemo. I'll be sure to keep it off the list for movie night just in case. You're good to me, he says, closing the distance between us. I try, I whisper, grinning against his lips. Our teeth bump through our skin as we smile kiss, but soon our smiles fade and the kiss grows hotter, deeper. Trent's arms wrap around my waist and his fingers curl around the curve of my ass. A beat later, he picks me up with one hand, scooting me off my sleeping bag and onto his own with one flex of his bicep. My belly flips, and my breath catches. I shift without breaking the kiss, sliding one leg over his lap until I'm straddling him. He curses softly. Really wishing security cameras hadn't been invented right about now. I freeze, pulling back a few inches. Security cameras? I exhale. Right. They wouldn't turn those off, would they? Doubtful. His fingertips skim up and down the hollow of my spine, even that relatively innocent touch enough to make me tingle all over. But that doesn't mean we can't make out. Just need to stop before things get too scandalous. I twine my arms around his neck. Okay, but just FYI, scandalous is starting to sound pretty good to me. Me too. He brushes my hair over my shoulder and cups my face in one big hand. I can't wait to be with you. I dream about making love to you all the time. Yeah, I ask, my stomach flipping. I wonder if he means the love part of that, and secretly hope he does. I'm falling for him so hard and fast, it should be terrifying. But I'm not scared. He makes me feel so safe. And special in a way I haven't been special to anyone in years, and it just feels good. So good. Yeah. His lips curve. Sometimes I'm even asleep when it happens. My cheeks flush and my lips part. I'm about to say things I probably shouldn't. Things about how often I fantasize about him touching me, and how much I wish we could spend every night together from now on. But before I can take the leap, the deep voice of our aquarium host comes over the PA system. Ladies and gentlemen, he rumbles, I invite you to join us for wine, s'mores, and refreshments on the balcony, followed by a complimentary showing of Bluest Planet in our theater. I could go for s'mores, Trent says. How about you? Yes. And wine. I hop to my feet and reach a hand down to help him up, loving that he lets me. As big and strong as he isn't the kind of man who has to prove what a tough guy he is all the time. He's as happy to follow as he is to lead and doesn't have a bullying bone in his body. He's so different than the boy he used to be. Or maybe I'm just able to see him more clearly now, in a way I couldn't before. What? He asks, running a hand through his hair. Do I look like I've been making out? No. I was just thinking. I tip my head, gazing up into his kind eyes. I'm sorry I misjudged you. Back in school. He takes my hand, giving it a squeeze. You didn't. I was a dumb kid. I had a lot of growing up to do. I'm just glad I got it done before we ran into each other again. And I'm glad you haven't changed. My smile slips. But I have. A lot, really. Not in the ways that count. He draws me closer, pressing a kiss to my forehead that's almost painfully sweet. You just needed a reason to believe again. I glance up, my heart hiccuping in my chest. Does he mean a reason to believe in love? Is he feeling the same overwhelmingly right things I'm feeling? I suppose I should be able to tell, but I've only been in love once, and Dave and I were so young. Trent and I aren't kids, and there's a chance I'm getting ahead of myself. And of him. What if he just means I need a reason to believe in nice people, or my capacity to find a steady date or something? And even if he does feel the way I do, things could change once the kids get home. Trent might not get along with Marshall and Emmy. He's amazing with his own daughter, but a lot of men are great with their biological children and not so great with other people's kids. There's also a chance he'll resent the fact that soon I won't be able to make plans without hiring a babysitter several days in advance. Aside from 4 weeks at the beginning of the summer and 2 weeks during Christmas vacation, I'm a full-time single mom. Since he changed jobs, Dave lives too far away for the kids to visit him every other weekend. Once Trent realizes how full my life usually is, he might decide he's sick of hearing I can't, and these giddy summer adventures will become painful memories I'll have to do my best to forget. Stop it. All this kind of thinking accomplishes is to keep you isolated and lonely and unlaid. You need to jump off this crazy train before you do something stupid, like push Trent away before you can live happily ever after. Or at the very least have lots and lots and lots of hot sex. The inner voice is right. But still, I can't bring myself to say any of the things twisting around in my head. You okay? Trent asks, as the silence stretches on for way too long. I think I need a drink, I whisper, and chocolate. Then let's go get some. He squeezes my hand again and smiles. He doesn't push. He doesn't demand answers. He just offers that quiet, steady support that I'm starting to hope I'll never have to do without. I thread my fingers through his, letting him lead the way out of the jellyfish room, determined to stop stressing and enjoy the evening. We head to the restaurant, where a waiter is handing out red wine in glasses big enough to serve as mini fish bowls. We chat with some of the other guests while waiting in line at the s'more station, but choose a private table near the balcony, overlooking the largest tank in the aquarium, to enjoy our treats. Trent is all the company I need, and he seems to feel the same. His eyes rarely leave my face, even when the stars of the giant tank, a mama beluga and her newborn baby, swim by. At the movie, we snuggle together in the back row, my legs draped over his lap, and his big hand warm on my thigh. I cover his eyes during the shark attack, making him laugh, and then we make out for so long, I'm really glad the movie doesn't have a linear plot. If it did, I would be completely lost. But I wouldn't mind. Kissing trumps plot any day. Afterwards, we grab our bags and hit the restrooms to wash up and change into our pajamas, preparing for lights out in half an hour. I slip into a black tank top and soft gray drawstring pants with tiny black skulls on them, my nerves returning with a vengeance now that I'm alone. Trent and I are about to spend our first night together. There won't be sex involved, obviously, but we'll lie down together tonight and wake up together tomorrow morning. It's a heady thought. I haven't had an overnight with a man since my divorce. I've dated, even had a semi-steady boyfriend about 3 years ago. But with Marshall and Emmy at my place almost every night, I haven't had much opportunity for overnight guests. Not unless I was okay with having a boyfriend in the house at the same time as the kids. Until now, I never even considered it. I didn't want to introduce someone to my kiddos unless it was serious. But with Trent, Dave is dropping the kids off this coming Wednesday. Soon I'll need to make a decision about how close I want to let Trent get to my little family. And really, I should be honest with him about my feelings before I make that call. It's time to woman up and tell him how I feel. Trent, I think I'm falling in love with you, I whisper to my reflection, my nose wrinkling at how stilted the words sound. Trent, I love you. I try again in a deeper, more casual voice, making myself snort. I sound like a dude, or like I have a cold. Nothing more romantic than a sinus infection. I got some love for you, baby, I say in my Elvis voice, the one that made Trent laugh during our donut date. I point my toothbrush at my reflection and curl my lip. Get over here and give me some sugar. No. Awful. Stupid. I'll just write him a letter or something. Or a text. Message in a bottle left in his bathtub. Tossing my toiletries back in my bag, I decide to save big confessions for another night and head out of the L-shaped hallway leading into the bathroom. Outside, I practically run into Trent, who's standing just to the left of the entrance. I meet his eyes, and mine go wide, horror rising inside of me as I realize, you heard me? Oh my God. Say you didn't hear. Well, I could say that, he says, a smile curving his lips, but I would be lying. My hands fly to cover my face, and my bag falls to the carpet with a dull thunk. No way. This can't be happening. Don't be embarrassed, he says, taking a step closer that I counter with a scuttle back. No, I insist, my cheeks lava hot beneath my fingers. Seriously, this is worse than the time in junior high when I walked around with toilet paper stuck to my foot for an entire afternoon. I try to pull in a breath, but it feels like my ribs are trying to crush my lungs. Please, you have to forget. Erase your memory. I'll go steal some more wine from the restaurant, we can get stupid drunk, and when we wake up in the morning, we'll pretend we can't remember anything that happened after the movie. Trent shakes his head, his smile fading. Not a chance. I don't want to forget. Or pretend. I want to remember every word and tease you about it on our 10-year anniversary. My ribs relax a little, and my heart lifts. Really? Really. I'll dress up as Elvis and take you to dinner. Embarrass you in front of the entire restaurant, he says, his gaze softening as he adds, and I love you too, by the way. Yeah? A slow, delicious-feeling smile creeps across my face. Yeah. He shifts closer, and I smell the soapy, minty, ready-for-bed scent of him. An intimate smell I plan on getting familiar with. Very familiar. So, he adds, his lip curling as he adds in a growly drawl, get over here and give me some sugar. I laugh. Your Elvis voice needs some work, buddy. Good thing I know a woman who can give me pointers, he whispers. And then he leans down and kisses me. And it is the best kiss. Honest and sweet and sexy, and filled with promise of amazing things to come. It's a hope-filled kiss, and it keeps me warm long after we've pulled apart to make our way back to the jellyfish tank. That night, as we lay tangled together in the one giant sleeping bag we make by zipping both of our bags together, I try to stay awake as long as possible, wanting to savor this first, perfect night with the man I love. The man who loves me. But eventually sleep drags at my lids and I drift off into a dream. It's a sweet dream, featuring one amazing man, 3 amazing kids, and a life spent loving the last person I ever guessed would be the one. But then, sometimes, life surprises you. Thank goodness. Epilogue. Trent. I've learned several important lessons since embracing my sometimes love is crazy, but that's okay philosophy this past summer. 1. Crazy is subjective. What might look impulsive to outsiders can be a measured, thoughtful decision for the couple in question. 2. Love is the ultimate wheel grease. If you love hard enough, even moving 3 kids and a new rescue dog into a tiny 3-bedroom, 1-bath house can seem like an exhilarating adventure. 3. Finding the one really makes time fly. I can't believe it's already the first day of school, Dawn says, with a stunned shake of her head as the bus holding all 3 of our kids chugs down the street. Where did Summer go? I wrap my arms around her waist, pulling her back against me. I don't know. But I'm glad you don't have to go back to school until next week. She turns in my arms with a grin, looping her arms around my neck. And I'm glad you took the day off. Damn straight I did. It's our first day without kids in weeks. And I've got plans. She hums seductively and presses closer. Oh yeah? Big plans? Huge. I cup her ass, not caring if Mrs. Carp across the street gets an eyeful and starts gossiping about my impulsive new living situation again. That's another thing about love. It really makes you stop sweating the small stuff. I was thinking breakfast in bed, and then we just stay there until right before the kids get home, when we should probably get dressed. That sounds... She's cut off by a pitiful bark whine from the kitchen window that makes us both laugh. Sounds like Elvis doesn't approve of that plan. She nods toward the house. Walk Elvis first, then bed all day? Perfect, I say. And it is. It's also part of my master plan. After all, I never said which bed we should spend the day in. We head inside, and while Dawn gets Elvis, our sweet golden retriever and mutt mix, on his leash, I grab my bag of supplies and sling it over my shoulder. When Dawn sees it, she arches a brow. Bringing your man purse? I saw the owl again yesterday while I was out, I say. Thought I'd bring my camera in case we see him again. Excitement sparks in her eyes. Oh, good. He's so gorgeous. Kind of makes me want an owl tattoo. Me too, I say, bending to kiss her forehead. I love how excited she gets about the little things, like our neighborhood owl, and pizza picnics with the kids in the backyard, and piling my truck bed full of old blankets and heading to the drive-in movie. I love watching her draw on lazy Sunday mornings, and soaking in the sun with her at the lake while the kids swim, and epic weekend bike rides. Hell, I even love making grocery lists with this woman, and I hate grocery lists. She's everything I've ever wanted in a partner, and so much more. I want to give her the moon and the stars and years of happy memories. And today, I'm going to make sure she knows it. She's chatty on the walk, but I'm so nervous I stick to mostly single syllables. I'm pretty sure she'll be on board with my latest crazy plan, but Dawn's more level-headed than I am. There's a chance she'll shut me down, or even be irritated that I made such a big leap without consulting her first. Shit. I hadn't really thought of that. I was so sure she'd love the place, and so focused on the big surprise, that I haven't stopped to wonder if she'll be upset that I went behind her back to buy our forever home. At least I hope it will be our forever home. And that's how I killed the Minotaur, rode a unicorn over the rainbow, and brought peace to the kingdom, she says, the words jerking my focus back to her face. I laugh. Sorry, come again? Where were you? Outer space? My lips quirk as I stop in front of the white picket fence surrounding the last house on our peaceful street. No, I was right here. I reach for the gate latch. Want to go in? She blinks, holding tight to Elvis's leash as he tries to charge into the yard. No, Elvis, sit, she says to him. To me, she says, we can't. It sold last week. I'm sure they're not doing showings anymore. No, they aren't, I agree, pulling the keys from my pocket and holding them up between us. I closed on the place last Friday, so... Her eyes open wide. Whoa, what? I bought it. For us, I say, rushing on when her jaw drops. And maybe that was stupid, and I should have talked to you about it first. But every time we walked by, you said how much you loved old Victorians, and... Oh my God, yes! I love it. It's the most gorgeous place I've ever seen, but... She breaks off with a shake of her head. That's a lot of house. Just 6 bedrooms, I say with a shrug. She rolls her eyes. Yeah, just 6. And how about the mortgage? How big is that? Don't get me wrong, I love that you wanted it for us, but I doubt I'm getting a raise anytime soon, and don't worry about that. I paid cash from my savings. We won't have a mortgage, just utilities and upkeep. Her jaw drops again. But let's go in. I'll answer your questions while we look around, and Elvis can explore his new territory. I reach down, letting the dog off the leash. He instantly dashes through the gate and across the grass with a happy bark. The yard's shaded by a pair of old oak trees and has enough squirrels to keep our boy busy for at least a few hours. I take Dawn's hand and lead her up the front steps. At the door, I hand her the keys. You do the honors. Her cheeks going pink, she shakes her head. I can't believe you did this. It doesn't seem real. It's real, I promise, following her inside. hoping her shock will wear off before my next surprise. Wow, this kitchen! She moves through the foyer into the living dining space. I love that they opened things up in here but kept the drawing room and library old-fashioned and cozy. She turns back to me, biting her lip before she hisses. We have a library. We are so fancy. I laugh. Super fancy. Upstairs? Yes. She circles back to the wide staircase in the foyer, and we head up to the second floor, where we spend a good 20 minutes deciding which of the 4 bedrooms on this level should be bedrooms and which should be turned into a playroom for the kids to share. Finally, I take her hand again, dragging her toward the stairs to the 3rd floor because I can't wait anymore. I can't believe there's more, she breathes, as we step out into the 3rd floor sitting room. So, 2 more bedrooms up here? Yeah. A little bedroom the last family who lived here used as a nursery, I say, motioning to the left. And the master, which I'd really like to show you first. She grins and tips her head back for a kiss. Oh yeah, I'd like to see your master, mister. Our master, I correct, as I brush my lips over hers. Come on. I guide her through the door, keeping my eyes on her face as much as possible. I don't want to miss the moment she sees her next surprise. What? Oh, wow. The shock and pleasure mixing in her expression as she spots the king-size bed with the fluffy white sheets and gauzy curtains hanging around it is exactly what I was hoping for. Her gaze shifts to lock with mine. You did all this? If we're going to stay in bed all day, we need a bed, I say, shrugging off my bag and holding it up between us. I brought breakfast, and there are coffee things downstairs. I don't want breakfast, she says, fisting her fingers in my t-shirt. Or coffee. No. I arch a brow, feigning confusion as she takes my bag and drops it on the floor before tugging me toward the bed. Then what do you want? You, she whispers. All day long. We tumble onto the bed, laughing as we tear at each other's clothes and toss pillows to the floor. But then she's naked and under me, and laughter turns to sighs and moans, and the sexy sounds she makes when she's turned on. Afterwards, we lay in our new bed, holding hands as we catch our breath, until Dawn finally says, I can't believe this is our bedroom. I roll over, propping up on one arm to smile down at her. You know what's even better? She bites her lip again. What? Our bathroom. I nod toward the closed door on the other side of the room. Check it out. The bathtub is big enough to swim in. With a squeal of excitement, she rolls off the bed and dashes naked across the gleaming wooden floor, while I do my best to lock this moment in my memory. Dawn, gorgeous and naked and sexy as hell, and hopefully, I stand, following her slowly, giving her time to find her final surprise. And then I hear her suck in a breath, and I know my moment has arrived. Opening the door, I meet her gaze across the bright, sunny bathroom. She's holding the seashell soap dish with the engagement ring resting in the middle. With her hair wild around her shoulders, she looks like a mermaid caught on shore. She also looks sad. A frown knits my forehead as I step inside. If it's too soon, It's not too soon. I love you, she says, and then she bursts into tears. Thinking fast, I scoop her into my arms and carry her back to the bed, drawing the covers up over our heads until we're in a warm, white cocoon with the ring resting on the sheets between us. After a few minutes, her tears slow, and she says in a shaky voice, Sorry. I think it was just too many good things at once. I squeeze her hip. Don't be sorry. This is good to know. From now on, I'll only plan one good thing at a time, maybe 2. Her lips tilt up on one side. No. Plan as many as you want. And I'll plan good things too. And we'll live happily fucking ever after. I laugh and pluck the ring from the dish. Does that mean I get to put this on your finger? And never take it off, she whispers, holding out her hand. I slide the ring on with a sigh. Perfect fit. You know what else is a perfect fit? she asks, as she rolls on top of me. And then she shows me. And she's so damned right. We are a perfect fit. In every way. I can't wait for the kids to get home, so we can show them where we'll be starting our new life as a family. I can't wait to move in and fill this house with love and laughter. I can't wait to hopefully have a baby of our own sleeping in the nursery down the hall in a couple of years. And most of all, I can't wait to live the rest of my life with my best friend. This has been A Little Less Conversation, written and read by Lili Valente. Copyright 2020 Lili Valente. Production copyright 2021 Lili Valente.